You already know what to do. You know you should exercise, sleep earlier, stop scrolling, call your parents. The strange part isn't that you don't know. The strange part is that you do. And yet, nothing changes. If knowledge is power, why are so many intelligent people stuck? Why do we continue choosing the habits that make us unhappy? And why did one of history's greatest novelists believe that human beings often act against their own best interests? We've been taught that information changes people, that if we simply learn enough, everything else will follow. Read the right book, watch the right interview, find the perfect productivity system, download another app to track the habit you haven't started yet. Soon, you'll become the person you've always wanted to be. But that's not what happens. The modern world has solved the problem of information. It has not solved the problem of action. Every answer already exists for free in seconds. Millions of videos explain how to lose weight, how to build discipline, how to overcome procrastination. There are more guides to becoming disciplined than there are disciplined people. And yet, our lives don't necessarily improve, because knowing and acting are two completely different things. They don't even live in the same part of the brain. More than 150 years ago, Fyodor Dostoevsky described something extraordinary in Notes from Underground. His narrator has no name. He lives alone, half in spite, half in despair. He isn't ignorant. He isn't lazy. He isn't incapable. He's painfully, almost unbearably aware. He analyzes everything, every decision, every possibility, every consequence, and every consequence of that consequence, until action itself becomes impossible. He sees so clearly what a normal life would require that he becomes incapable of living one. Dostoevsky wrote something remarkable through him. To be overly conscious is a sickness, because knowing and acting are two completely different things. They don't even live in the same part of the brain. At first, that sounds absurd. Isn't awareness supposed to help us? Isn't understanding the whole point? But think about it. Have you ever spent so much time thinking about how to start that you never actually started? Have you ever rehearsed a conversation so many times in your head that by the time you could have it, you'd already exhausted yourself? Sometimes, the more we understand a problem, the harder it becomes to move toward it. Awareness without action doesn't feel like peace. It feels like standing very still while the floor keeps moving. Imagine standing in front of hundreds of doors. Each one could change your life. Which one do you choose? What if another door was better? What if you regret your decision the moment it closes behind you? What if waiting just a little longer gives you more certainty? Psychologists have a name for part of this: the paradox of choice. In one well-known experiment, researchers set up a tasting table with jam. Sometimes 24 flavors, sometimes only 6. More people stopped to look when there were 24, but almost no one bought. The smaller table with fewer choices sold far more. More options didn't create more confidence. It created more hesitation. This is one of the hidden costs of intelligence. Not intelligence itself, but the ability to imagine endless possibilities in vivid detail. Every decision eliminates thousands of others, and for some people, that feels unbearable. So they wait. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much about too many doors at once. In economics, there's a concept called opportunity cost. Every choice has a price, not the price you pay, the price of what you give up to pay it. Choosing one path means abandoning countless alternatives quietly, without ceremony. Most people think this idea only applies to money. It doesn't. Choosing one career means not becoming the person you'd have been in another. Choosing one city means leaving a different version of your life behind, unmet. Choosing to stay in a relationship means closing a door on every other possible one. None of this is tragic by itself. It's just the cost of being a finite person making decisions in time. But some people become trapped by this reality. Instead of accepting imperfect decisions, they postpone every decision, hoping the cost will eventually disappear. It doesn't. Ironically, refusing to choose is also a choice, perhaps the most expensive one available because it spends years without spending them on anything. Notice what happens whenever we're uncomfortable. We don't act. We research, we buy another book, watch another video, open another tab. Just to check one more thing. We convince ourselves that we're preparing. Sometimes we are, but often we're simply replacing action with information and calling it progress. It feels productive, it isn't. The algorithms that feed us content are not designed to make us act. They're designed to keep us watching. Every related video, every you might also like, is a small invitation to stay a little longer in research mode. Where nothing is risked and nothing is lost, knowledge can become a hiding place. A place where we never have to risk failure because as long as we're still learning, we never have to discover whether we're actually capable. Here's something most people get backwards. Human beings aren't purely rational. We don't make decisions based only on logic. Emotion comes first. Reason often arrives later, to justify what we've already done. Psychologist Leon Festinger called part of this cognitive dissonance. When our actions don't match our beliefs, we feel a quiet discomfort instead of changing the action. We often just adjust the belief until the two feel comfortable again. This explains why someone can fully understand the health risks of a habit, read the studies, watch the documentary, feel genuinely convinced, and still reach for the same habit tomorrow. We like to believe that knowledge changes behavior. More often, behavior changes knowledge. We act first for reasons we don't fully understand, and then build the explanation afterward. Action creates belief, not the other way around. Charles Darwin had the theory of evolution fully formed in his mind by 1838. He had the evidence. He had the notebooks. He even wrote a private essay outlining the whole idea in 1844. And then, he did nothing with it. For 20 years, he kept studying barnacles. He kept refining footnotes no one had asked for. He told a friend in a letter that publishing felt like confessing a murder. He knew exactly what he had, and he knew exactly what it would cost him. His reputation, his friendships, his peace. So he waited, not out of laziness, out of the same overconsciousness Dostoevsky described decades later in a very different country. Then in 1858, a letter arrived from a naturalist named Alfred Russel Wallace. Wallace had independently arrived at almost the same theory, ready to publish it himself. Darwin had weeks, not years, to decide. On the Origin of Species came out the following year. 20 years of preparation didn't make the decision easier. Someone else's timeline did. Sometimes we don't need more certainty. We need a deadline we can't postpone. There's an old idea attributed to Aristotle. We become what we repeatedly do. Not what we repeatedly intend to do. Not what we repeatedly plan to do. What we repeatedly do. In his Nicomachean Ethics, he argued that virtue isn't a feeling we wait to have. It's a skill we build through repetition, the same way a person becomes a builder by building. Identity isn't decided inside our thoughts. It's built inside our actions. Small actions, repeated actions, imperfect, clumsy, unimpressive actions. Waiting to feel ready is seductive because it feels like responsibility. But readiness is rarely the beginning. It's usually the reward, the thing that shows up after you've already started. Perhaps the greatest obstacle isn't ignorance. Perhaps it's the illusion that one more piece of information will finally make us act. Maybe it won't. Maybe what we've been waiting for isn't another answer, but another beginning. The first and perfect step. The uncomfortable conversation, the unfinished draft, the first page, the first workout, the first attempt, made before you feel ready for it. Because history rarely remembers the people who understood everything. It remembers the people who acted despite uncertainty, despite doubt, despite knowing it might go wrong. So before you search for another book, another video, another productivity system, ask yourself one simple question. If I already know what I need to do, what am I really waiting for? Maybe the answer isn't outside. Maybe it never was.